All right, who's ready for the Dirt Life Show?
Yeah, we are ready. This is episode 19. I'm pretty stoked on that, dude.
That's your number.
That's my number. I'm stoked on episode 19. And plus, we've made it this far, dude. So that's pretty rad.
It's not gonna, but you could almost stop right now and be good, right?
Yeah,
19.
We'll just
Done.
quit. It's over. Dirt Life's over. We're over it. So I'm Georgie Hamill. Welcome to the Dirt Life Show. Alongside me tonight, co-hosting Casey Peck.
How's it going, guys?
And
gals.
Yeah, and gals too. We really want this show to be interactive, so let's talk about how you can connect. We want to have everybody connect on Facebook and YouTube. We like to have you guys talk about some of the questions and give us your answers on some of the questions and things like that we have tonight. We can be reached always. Direct message us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Slide into our DMs. You can always listen to the show on the archives too, iTunes. iTunes has actually been growing pretty good. So the statistics on it, we've been getting some pretty good numbers. So I'm stoked on that. Like I said, though, I really want to get more interactive. That last show that we had with Robert Blanton of Warfighter Made was pretty interactive, and I thought that was fun. I like that kind of stuff. It's neat to see what people have to say, and I think this will actually be a pretty interactive show with some of the questions that we got lined up for our featured guest, who tonight is Joe Weining. Joe Weining is an awesome dude. Kind of grew up with us a little bit in Southern Arizona. He's parlayed all of his hard work into doing some pretty rad stuff, man. I really admire him because of all the hard work that he does. But he's the crew chief now for Jesse Jones Trophy Truck, which is one of the highest level trophy trucks in they do best in the desert stuff, but they do mostly score stuff now, which is like the Baja 500, the Baja 1000, Baja 250, all those good races. Right. And that takes some serious time and effort to be able to do those races. Joe's had some opportunities lately in the past year or two to work in Australia with a guy named Toby Price, who a lot of people will know from I don't want to call it Red Bull fame, but Red Bull has posted some cool videos of him lately. He just did a desert race that was pretty badass in my mind. He did dirt bike in the afternoon and trophy truck in the morning and tried to win both of them.
That's pretty insane.
Joe's career is blossoming as well, so he's going to be doing some pretty fun stuff in the future. But I really want to ask him some questions about us growing up and things like that. So it'll be pretty cool to talk about.
I can't wait. It's so cool to see some of the stuff he's got going on right now because it comes from such humble and just family-oriented beginnings. I mean, those guys, the stuff that those guys used to build back in the day, just so cool. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Like someone could say, well, how did he get there? Well, we know how he got there.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
been doing it since he was this tall.
Yeah, and Joe and I went out to eat a couple days ago, and it's cool, like the conversations that we have, because we'll get into a little bit more about people asking, well, how did you get here? What made you get to this point? So it's going to be really fun to talk about stuff like that. I think it'll actually align pretty close to the way that our audience grew up too. So living the dirt life. Let's thank our sponsors. First, our sponsors are Shock Therapy, Fuel Wheels, Zollinger Racing Products, excuse me, Rigid Industries, and Solderweld. We love all those guys. It's really awesome to have all of them on board, to be able to provide us content, to be able to share it, and just to have a good time with all of those guys. We started doing something new. I know it's a little late for Christmas, but maybe when you return some of the gifts that you didn't like, you can use the code DIRTLIFE, so DIRTLIFE, on the Shock Therapy website, and you can get a big old fat discount for some products there. So all you loyal listeners that want to save some cash, definitely go save some cash over there. The code is DIRTLIFE, and if you forget the code, just slide into our DMs and let us know. We'll send you the DIRTLIFE code. And you can even call in, though. Call down there and talk to all the boys at Shock Therapy. Let them know my name or use that same code. And we're going to use the same code with Zollinger Racing Products, too. So those guys, like I said, every time, man, the machine work that those guys do is just insane. And some of that stuff we'll be talking about with building trophy truck parts and stuff with Joe tonight. But a lot of these cool machines that they're using to build all these new parts for vehicles these days, it just blows my mind. And so Zollinger Racing Products is one of the best. They're on the forefront, and you can use the code DIRTLIFE to get a big old fat discount on their website too. So and if you don't feel like using the computer, call them and say my name or give them the code there too, and you can order some products and save some money. So so I really want to make sure that we're getting interactive with as many people as possible. I feel like that's going to be super fun for the show's growth. I think the show is, it's growing well, but I think it could have a really, really good potential to be a platform where we can get a lot of opinions, we can get a lot of feedback, and we can just talk shit like we always do, in the garage and having fun. So anytime you guys want to come in, comment, and even we're going to do a rapid fire Q&A at the end. So we definitely want people to talk about that with us too. So
I feel like we need a phone call.
Yeah, we tried that at the beginning. It wasn't very successful.
Nobody's into it.
I feel like no. I feel like everybody likes typing on the computer.
Yeah, I guess that's the day and age we live in.
Would you call into a show?
I don't know if I knew what was going on and knew the guys. I think so, because it seems like, maybe every whatever so and so who's got a funny alias calls in to say whatever, and then it just kind of turns things. You know what I mean? It makes it interactive. But the same thing can happen on the, right now, right here. Somebody type in, say your thing.
Comments on Facebook and
absolutely
stuff like that. That would be kind of fun, though. Like, call in and you don't say who you are. My AKA is Bruce, so I can call in and say Bruce.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun, actually. We could get Joe's wife to call in a little bit.
There you go.
See what she has to say. Where are you? Bring home some milk. So that would be pretty fun. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today that we're going to get into with Joe a little bit was structure and work ethic and things like that. And I don't mean it as a serious thing. I mean it more like we were talking about before the show, living the dirt life when we were kids. We would love tinkering on stuff, working with our dads, our friends. I would go over to your house and help you, those types of things. But we would go bicycle riding. We would go building jumps in the dirt and in the backyard and different things like that. But we didn't have we weren't looking at a watch like when we were going to come home, right? Like you didn't have to come home at 5 unless, of course your parents had something for you to do. But when the sun started going down, you were like, we better hurry. And I think that honestly, that teaches you that you don't have a cutoff time. So let's just say most people are used to going to work from 8 to 5. Well, Joe and I had a conversation about 8 months ago or something. We go home from work when the job is done.
Right.
Not when it turns 5 o'clock.
Sure.
And I think those little things like growing up and being home when the sun sets teach you that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't stop building our jumps until it was no longer light where we couldn't do it anymore.
Or they were done, right?
Yeah, or they were done. And you got to wake up the next day when it turns light and you're back at it working on it again. Of course, that's different. You're a kid. You're having fun.
Sure.
But I think truthfully, it trains your mental state to be like that when you grow up. Like being a crew chief like Joe is for a trophy truck team, you don't go to bed until it's done.
Right.
Like if you're at the race and something's wrong, you don't sleep. You just get it done. Like the job is always going.
Right. And I feel like with someone who's that a pivotal in the whole scheme of things, in the whole package.
You're meaning the crew chief?
Yeah, the crew chief. I mean, there's others that are supporting as well, but this guy has everything on the line.
Right.
If he wins, it's because of what he did. If they lose, it's because of what he did. If they break, you know what I mean? And that's not completely fair, but that's how it goes.
The accountability is always there in a position like that.
Right, absolutely. And when it's all said and done, hopefully champagne bottles are going and we get to be the
steak dinners.
Right, absolutely. And then sometimes obviously that it doesn't go that way, and I'm sure he's going to have some good stories about how the team gels and stuff, but it doesn't always go that way.
That's very true. Well, what do you think about in those instances, so let's just say preparation is key, of course, but let's just say you do or don't have a good race.
Right.
Let's say don't have a good race. You didn't finish the Baja 1000.
Right.
You go home with your tail between your legs, of course. Accountability is there for everybody on the team, but the crew chief does hold most of the accountability, and the race driver, of course,
right.
If he crashed shit or whatever. But how do you manage that? And that's kind of the structure and work ethic that we're talking about. The whole trip home, let's just say it's 8 hours home.
Right. Well, knowing Joe and people that are wired that way, I'm the same way. You are too, I'm sure. On the way home, whatever that part failure was, he's already figured out 17 ways to, in his mind, nope, that won't work, but we can do this. Well, no, that won't work either. He's already got that thing designed that it'll never happen again.
Or maybe did the driver do this, or can we have a team meeting and understand how to move forward?
Right.
We used to do that a lot with Brian Lopez, my crew chief, in the short course stuff. It's nowhere near the level of the stuff that Joe is doing with trophy trucks and stuff, but yeah, I think I was kind of the same way. We would come home, we'd have an 8-hour drive home, let's just say from Southern California to Arizona, and we would talk about what we could do better the whole time.
Right. It's lessons learned. Like you got to learn every time you do something. You're walking away learning. If not, you're just going backwards.
And that goes back to what we just talked about with structuring it from the dirt life. Right. What did you do today? You built a bunch of jumps, and then the next day you go out and you try to jump them, right? What if they sucked because you had no idea what you're doing? Well, you learned, right? Yep. And then you rebuilt them for the next week or the next day, or so your buddies could go higher than you or whatever it was.
Yep. Don't do that again if it wasn't. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I agree. And how you were going to say too, we'll ask Joe when he comes on, but him and a lot of people that he grew up with tinkered the whole time to learn that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's another key of the dirt life, bringing it into the racing scene. When they go home and if they do something well, or if let's just say they win the race, there's still, you have to look back on it, and maybe a part didn't work the way that they thought, and they have to tinker and re-engineer it. All the stuff that he learned when he was growing up could have been a huge part to that race program.
Right. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So I'm interested to see what he says with that kind of stuff. And that's what I've always admired about him is there's no quit. You know what I mean? It's just all go all the time until the job is done and until success has been made.
Right. And very hands-on. There's not a second when, if something's going down, whatever's happening, first guy there.
Yep.
First one to jump in,
Yeah, he's even been like that at the dunes when we were with, That's super cool. Oh, we could ask Joe, too. Do you remember when we were at the dunes and we were all on 250s and we were all jumping that big jump at, where was it, Buttercup or something?
It was Buttercup, yeah.
Dude, that was fun.
Thanksgiving 05, holy moly.
That was like as fast as our bikes could go, man.
It was.
And we kept giving Joe shit, too, because he's lighter weight than both of us. We were like, you could go further, bitch, pin it.
You'll have to ask him, but 107 pounds with the shoes, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not anymore.
Oh, man. So his Kawasaki 450 could make it over a little easier than us. Yeah. That was fun, though, man. I love those times. And even those fun times like that, man, they teach you so much. And that structure and work ethic, I think, is huge these days, man, because it's hard to find.
It is. It's missing in our culture, unfortunately.
How is it like when you go to work and stuff like that? Is there a lot of people that are ready, like 459, I'm out?
Yeah, I mean, and to some extent, I think you have to have a balance, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you weren't doing 100% all day long and you need to get something done, how come we can't just get it done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's one of those things. And you know what's funny is even in the computer stuff that we did, Robbie Hornsby said Coke should be paying for this. Well,
we got some stories about that.
Yeah, we do have some stories, but I think maybe we should get some dividends from them if we can. Well, actually, Robbie, do you know anybody at Coke? Yeah, we got some funny stories, so pay attention to when Joe comes on in a little bit, man. So in the computer stuff, it was really funny because I'm just always been like the way that Joe is and you are. Like, you do the work until it gets done, no matter what. So, operating my own race program and stuff like that, I did a lot of work by myself, just like what Joe does for the trophy truck team. And you learn a lot, you get things going, but there's sometimes when you don't sleep for 2 days.
Right.
You just got to get it done. Like, that's the way it goes. And then, if I didn't sleep for 2 days and my dad was driving to the races or Brian was driving, I would just sleep in the truck. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just the way it goes. And in the computer world, we would always get asked to work overtime. Like, you got to finish a website or you got to program certain things and make it so that it works because a client is relying on it, whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. Nobody would ever stay, ever. So I was always the go-to guy because they're like, oh, he'll fix it, he'll finish it, no problem.
Right.
And it's funny because that has nothing to do with the dirt life. But it's what I know.
Well, it's that programming from, this tall. Again, I keep saying that, but it's true. I mean, I remember our first dirt bikes for me, and it was like, okay, here's your used whatever, make it work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, you blew up the top end. Well, you better figure it out.
Yep. Because you got a race tomorrow or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. So
exactly.
It just carries on, I think, for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Even digging ditches and all that stuff. Like I'm gonna have to repair this house, the fence at my house, because all this wind and stuff in southern Arizona these last couple of days, and I'm not looking forward to doing it, of course. But I'm not going to stop until it's all finished.
Just pretend it's jumps.
Sure.
Just do what my dad used to do to us. He'd say, "You know what builds your moto muscles?" "Oh yeah, what's that?" Here we are, 14 years old. We're like, "Heck yeah, what does that?" And he goes,
"Tell me."
"Shoveling that sand into that cement mixer. That's what builds those moto muscles."
He's like, "You kids better help me."
That only worked for a couple of batches, and then we're like, "All right, we're over it."
That's funny. Alfonso just jumped on. He said, Monday, 6 p.m., I'm dropping what I'm doing for the Dirt Life show. So there's
nice.
Devil's advocate to what we're talking about. So if you are working and trying to get stuff done when the Dirt Life show comes on, you're okay. We'll excuse it for that, for the Dirt Life show. All right. So B-Rat said we were such suckers back in the day.
So we were. He's part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
a shovel? Do you have two?
Yeah. Hey, you want to help me?
All right.
We got a job to do.
Totally.
So yeah, I really do think that structure and work ethic is pretty important. I mean, like, no matter what happens, when I see people that are being lazy or going home super early from work or complaining because they have a runny nose or something, it really bothers me. Like, I guess I don't care that much for my life, but it bothers me because I want them to be a better person. I want them to work hard. I want them to understand that life is really genuine. Like, you can go out and you can do really, really good stuff if you just put your mind and effort into it. So that's why I said Joe is such an inspiration to me, because if he's sick and the truck's not getting done, that's not an option. He still better get out there and do it.
I know, and I haven't been around the off-road stuff as much as moto and lots of other racing, but I can't even imagine. Okay, Baja 1000, right? That's 24/7,
dude.
And something breaks middle of the night, they're fixing it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, at the races, yeah.
And I don't know. Again, I'm going to make the assumption though that let's say there's someone who's in charge of fuel and in charge of tires and whatever. Well, it seems like those guys get to kind of take a minute, right? But the crew chief, no, there's no sleeping, there's no nothing. He's probably wired 24 hours would be my guess.
Yeah, and a lot of that is prep work too. But I think I think a lot of those guys, though, still, no matter who they are, if it's a fuel guy or whatever, they know their job.
Right.
But they can usually, most times, and this if you have a good team, they'll jump in and help with other stuff too. Nice. If you need a fuel guy to turn wrenches or something like that, they'll all come in and help out.
Right.
But it's the crew chief's guy job to tell all those guys what to do and to give them the tools, have everything laid out. So there's a lot of structure that goes into that kind of stuff. They have to have everything lined up. They need to know where all the tools are. They need to know what happens. They need to know the idiosyncrasies of the truck. And dude, it takes months.
Well, and back
preparation.
Back to that prep, like you said, imagine all the tireless hours that nobody knows anything about, like for the truck rebuild. And then beyond that, just exactly like you said, somebody's deciding where every tool goes and how it gets there and that it gets exactly back where it's supposed to be. So in crunch time, everybody can get to it.
Yep, all organized and stuff like that. Well, you bring up a good point there. It reminds me of a time so before I got into UTV racing, I did the bicycle stuff and I knew I wanted to get into off-road. Casey Curry was a good mentor of mine. He's was a short course driver at that time, but now he's doing Dakar and things like that. And I had no idea. I said, let me drive your truck because I think it's like a dirt bike. I'm like, it's a dirt bike. You can go out there and just run around. Yeah.
Wash it. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
air filter.
I go, let me drive your truck. And it was just a little Pro Light. And he's like, no, dude. He's like, if I put that thing in the dirt, it cost me $10,000. If that thing goes for a few miles, it cost me $10,000 because I got to rebuild it. I got to do parts. I got to tear it down.
Right.
Once that thing's dirty, it takes a lot of work to build it back up. And he eventually let me test it, and I traded him some computer work and stuff for it. But that was really fun. But at the time, I was like, Jesus, no way. And then so to operate a trophy truck program,
yikes.
I could only imagine the amount of money that it costs to put that thing on the ground for, let's just say, a 1,000-mile race.
Yeah, and again, it's like every time that thing gets started, it's 100%. Like everything's perfect. It has to be, just like you said with the dirt bike. There's a couple of things you get away with, right? Well, I raced 2 weekends in a row. I probably ought to do whatever.
Yep.
But there's no getting around any of that stuff.
That's a good point.
On those trucks. So just firing it up and taking a few spins you never know what you could do. Hit a tree stump and break whatever. You know what I mean?
There's a lot that goes behind it, yeah. Right. So it'll be interesting to talk to Joe about that.
Yep.
What time is it right now? 7:20? Yeah, I think it's a good time to take a little break, and then we'll bring back Joe. So we're gonna take about 5-6 minute break. We got a new Zollinger commercial. It's pretty cool. Definitely go to their websites. Even if you want to open a new browser window in your phone or whatever, if you're watching us right now, go and purchase some stuff on Shock Therapy and Zollinger's websites. Use the code DIRTLIFE. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with Joe Weining. We'll see you guys in a second. Zollinger Racing builds the best aftermarket products available. Products for your UTV or snowmobile, including billet radius rods, billet tie rods, billet steering knuckles, billet steering racks, alternator kits, and much more. All manufactured in the United States in-house at their headquarters in Nibley, Utah. Travis Zollinger and his team test in some of the most brutal conditions, racing in places like the Best in the Desert Mint 400, Ultra 4 King of the Hammers, UTV World Championships, and many more. Visit ZollingerRacingProducts.com and use the code DIRTLIFE to get 10% off your next purchase, and join us on social media at Zollinger Racing Products to see our products in action. Zollinger Racing, the best products, period.
Hello, I'm Justin, the founder of Shock Therapy. Shock Therapy has been around for 5 years, but we have personally been tuning suspension on off-road cars and race vehicles for over 25 years. We tune between 10 and 15 cars per day, every single day of the week. Our concentration is tuning shock systems and supplying components that improve the ride quality of your car in many ways. Not only do we work on the average UTV, but we also tune suspension for race teams and professional drivers. We currently tune for over 87 race teams in Best in the Desert and SCORE. Our clients and race teams rely on our suspension components to allow them to win races and keep them safe. Suspension is a moving target. We are always trying to hit that target with every customer that we work with. Each customer's needs can be different, and we tune our kits accordingly. Our research and development never stops. We improve our components every single day. As the industry evolves and improves, so do our parts and kits. As of right now, we have over 100 products for UTVs. So when you bring your car to us, you have the satisfaction of knowing that you have the most experience, the highest quality products, and the fact that your car is being tuned specifically to you.
Introducing Rigid's new SRL Series light bar, featuring a sleek 20-inch curved housing, ultra-wide forward projecting beam pattern, and a unique halo backlight feature offered in 4 color options. The SRL Series light bar's new optic combination projects light over 70 degrees wide, with more than enough distance to safely drive in low visibility conditions, making it the perfect lighting solution for most applications. The Halo backlight feature is offered in red, white, blue, or amber, and is wired independently from the forward projecting light. Instantly transition from style to function with the flip of a switch, making it easier than ever to own the night.
For wheels and tires with the most style, function, and innovation, look no further than Fuel Off-Road. From stock to lifted, dually to trophy truck, and UTV applications, Fuel Off-Road offers the most complete lineup for your next adventure. Whether a weekend warrior or racer, you can't go wrong with Fuel's massive line of trail tough truck and UTV wheels and tires. Good looks, better prices, and the absolute best range of styles and applications. Find us at fueloffroad.com.
Hey guys, George Hamill here to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Solder Weld. Who is Solder Weld, and what is their impact on the off-road community? Well, some of you may have seen Solder Weld's booths at the races, Lint 400, Vegas to Reno, Score and Snore events, and the UTV World Championship. You're seeing their stickers and sponsor wraps on more and more racers' vehicles every year. But who are they, and what do they have to offer us as off-road enthusiasts? Well, late last year, Solder Weld introduced their new off-road repair kit to the off-road industry and sold out their first week. The interest was overwhelming, as many off-roaders already knew of Solder Weld's aluminum radiator repair rods, and now they were included in a convenient carry kit in camo or black. If you're a racer of any type or off-road enthusiast like myself, you're going to want to take a close look at this product. Solder Weld has combined some of their most elite products into one small kit that fits perfectly under your seat or strapped into your roll cage and allows you to make some insane fixes anywhere you go. How many of us have been in a race or out on the trail and got a rock chip in a radiator or a brake line? We've literally seen a top-tier desert race truck at the 2019 Mint 400 taken out by a simple rock to the radiator. If they would have had an off-road repair kit on board, they could have been back up and running in just a minute. The kit includes everything you need to work on dirty aluminum, stainless steel, copper, and many other metals. Solder Weld's cutting-edge technology allows you to make these fixes with extremely low heat and incredible high tensile strength, leaving you with a lasting fix every time. Don't be that guy who broke down on the side of the trail. Get your off-road repair kit today. Your friends will thank you. All right, we are back. We got our buddy Joe Weining in the studio. What's up, dude?
Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing?
I'm glad you made the trek out.
Thanks.
You live about an hour and a half away from us, basically Mexico.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, so we're stoked to have you on, dude. It's been, I don't know, a long career, if I would say, all of the stuff that you've been through. But let's start at the beginning, man. Where did you grow up at?
Grew up here in southern Arizona, right here in Tucson.
Yeah.
Out there on the northwest side, and just grew up in the dirt, pretty much. My really young years, both of my uncles were into mud racing.
Oh, mud racing. Huh?
Yeah, and we did a bunch of mud racing. As a family, we'd all go together, and my dad would kind of crew chief, so to speak, the trucks, you know what I mean? And we went everywhere from El Paso to San Francisco, and just kind of grew up in that. Doing
so
the
I
mud
remember,
stuff.
like, and this is in the early '80s kind of stuff. The mud racing, I feel like that people think about nowadays. That something that comes to my mind is like Dustin Jones and the S3 Power Sports guys that are racing UTVs and stuff. You know, they're going through the swamp with those big old tires and, you know, basically driving it through the water and the mud and stuff like that. But the stuff that you're talking about is similar in, terrain, but it was basically just drag racing through pits of mud, right? Like tracks of mud?
Correct. The
big old trucks?
Majority of them were about 200 feet in length. And, there were anything from a stock vehicle to a full modified 52-inch tractor-tired race truck that my uncle used to run, and
those
it was fun.
tires look like freaking paddle tires. I remember those things.
Yeah, no, they're definitely vicious.
That's crazy, man. Well, I definitely think it's just weird to hear people's stories, because like, when you think about it, like, I think when you say you grew up early days like that, like, you also had a good time though. Like you were around that, but you also got to ride your bicycle. You also got to have fun.
Yeah. No, growing up, pretty much every Sunday that I could put my finger on, we were on our 3-wheelers.
Yeah.
I think my father had me on ATC 70.
Oh, really?
At an H5. And we were actually drag racing at a track here in Tucson called Saguaro Raceway. We were sand drag racing. And my cousin and my brother and I, and we were pretty much every Sunday, we were riding in the wash or doing something.
To practice?
And just practicing and just living.
Having fun?
You know what I mean? Yeah. Just riding. And, of course,
does that mean that you wanted to beat him?
oh, yeah, there was always a little bit of something in there. You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of people watching this grew up the same way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, I got to beat my brother.
So when did you get on the two-wheel stuff? Because let me tell you, the first time I ever met Joe was out at the castle track that we all grew up riding at.
Yeah, so for those that don't know or need context behind that, so we lived in a rural town outside of Tucson, and basically where we grew up, there wasn't really very many paved roads.
Right.
And down the way, like 10, 15 miles from where we lived, there's a castle, like a legitimate castle, like with a bridge and everything at the top of a hill. And we had a dirt bike track that was kind of over there. They do like a little mining, and they'd cut out the side of the hills and things like that. And well, some of our friends, Ryan and Gary McCoskey, they built a track out there.
Yep.
And it became known as the Castle Track.
Right.
And that was actually really cool because they had, heavy equipment and stuff that they could make jumps.
It was like a real deal.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're on 80s, and this is, Cousin Joe. I've heard about Cousin Joe, but I don't really know anything. And so we show up, we're riding, and I'm like, who's the little guy on the 60? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
and Gary goes, what are you talking about? That's Big Joe. And that's where it started for me.
Big Joe, huh?
Yeah, that the little 60.
Didn't that have like a 80
no,
engine or something?
It was, I don't remember how we actually acquired it, but it had engine problems when we got it. And my dad at the time had done some cylinder work to it and made it run, and it was, I don't know what was wrong with it, but it ran like you wouldn't believe.
I remember it being
amazing.
fast, yeah.
Yeah, it was so fast. It was scary.
What bike was it, a KX60?
No, it was a CR60.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were dedicated Honda guys for
Ever.
Yeah.
All about Honda life.
Yep, exactly. But there was a lot of growing up on that little 60. That was fun. Yeah, like you say, I was a little guy, and it's all I could hang on to.
Well, it's funny because he's on a 60, and they're like, dude, he drove to our house.
Yeah.
16 years old. That's awesome.
That's an awesome story, actually. What did you guys, when we were doing it, like I remember being like, well, you were always faster than us, so I remember going out to that castle track, and then I don't think I was out there that time, but there was one like double in the middle that you kind of had to hit sideways by where everybody parked. Mm-hmm. And I was always scared to do that, like when I was little, because, well, clearly, but I saw you do it, and then a couple other guys, and I was like, oh, I think I do. Dude, this thing was probably maybe 20 feet.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was like Excite Bike, though. Yeah. If you remember.
Super, like if you cased it, there was no going back.
Yeah, it was going to hurt, yeah.
But at the time, I was like, that thing is massive. Like, I don't know. Like, it's pretty scary for a little kid, right?
Yep.
And did you end up doing that jump? Like when you?
I think so, yeah. After, of course, it took a while. Our oldest cousin, Gary.
Yeah.
Was an instigator. He's still an instigator. And, did you do that?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. Oh, I just did it.
Yeah.
And he never even thought about doing it.
But he was never scared.
He wasn't never scared. So of course, with his peer pressure, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Otherwise, you're gonna look like a wussy.
Exactly.
That's that dirt life competition kind of stuff, man.
Absolutely.
It really gets you going. It's funny that we grew up like that because nowadays, like, well, if let's just say you got to be thick-skinned at work or something, and of course you got to be thick-skinned around all the guys at the races and stuff. It doesn't matter what people say. You're still able to accept it, Yep. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And then growing up out here, what did you usually do for fun?
Pretty much ride motorcycles.
Yeah?
Pretty much ride motorcycles. My father had always worked evenings. Mm-hmm. So we would get home, my brother and I would get home from school, and we'd work on little trucks, you know what I mean? Little tow trucks and playing around with that. And when we got older, we were riding motorcycles almost every afternoon. And somehow we always kept them running, and we always made them work. And
was there a lot of work that you had to do? Like you learned a lot back then when you were little?
Yeah. I think we all kind of, my brother and I mostly self-taught each other a lot.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that during the week, our father was at work when we got home from school, so we hardly see him. On the weekends, we always constantly in the garage doing something. Kind of grew up building hot rods and stuff like that on the weekends with my dad. And he taught us
every ins and out of a car, huh?
Yeah, he taught us a ton of stuff.
I bet you put his tools right back where they were supposed to be.
Gosh, all the time. Yeah.
Joe, where's the 12 millimeter?
Exactly. I had received my first car when I was 13.
Wow, really?
And,
Nice.
Yeah, and
For the ranch?
the old Ranchero. It was a 64 Ford Ranchero.
That was your first car, huh?
Yep. And he said, there you go, make it work.
No
And
shit. It didn't work, huh?
It didn't run. It didn't do it. You know what I mean? It didn't have transmission in it. Didn't. You know what I mean? It was beat.
Talk about trial by fire.
Exactly.
Most people are like worried about their driving test. You're worried about getting to the driving test. Yeah.
And I'll bet if you look back on that stuff, I think a couple of us were always like pretty envious of how you guys, I mean, you had to, right?
Yeah.
Like we were doing similar stuff on the dirt bikes, but you guys were building cars like out of whatever. And I think when we were, it was time for us to drive, we were like, man, I wish I could build a car.
Yeah,
I was definitely one of those guys that was envious because I wanted to be able to do that too.
And the stuff, I mean, you guys probably don't know, but Joe and his family have just built some of the most beautiful hot rods and street cruisers that you've ever seen. They're just
Thank you.
fantastic. And where I'm going with this is that I bet you would agree that none of this stuff was spoon-fed on a silver platter. So with that said, you guys were like, let's go make it happen. Let's go find this at this junkyard and this there and this, and the stuff that would come out of it was just, like I said, it was just beautiful. But again, okay, I have something and I need to make it work. And what I remember is probably going to be surprised because it's way back, so far back. It involves Taylor Vanderpool.
Mm-hmm.
We're out in California. And a couple different times we got to go, and Joe was
riding dirt bikes.
Yep. Yeah. So we got to go out, and we would spend a whole month, and this was awesome. Like for some of us that were able to do this with Justin McMurch and stuff, we got to put in almost a year's worth of racing here
in a month.
There,
because
we would practice 3 days a week. We'd race 2 or 3 times a week.
And it's kind of like a boot camp because the California guys were so much faster than the Arizona guys.
It really was. But here's the situation. We're at Glen Helen. There's this giant double that's just killing Taylor. Mm-hmm. We had it down. It was no big deal. But Taylor, it was just killing him. And he just
Were you guys pro at the time or intermediate?
I was intermediate. Justin was pro already.
And
obviously.
So Taylor was probably novice?
He was, and he was going good, but it was just this giant. Remember that thing, that huge cavity? Anyways, he came up so short. He crashed. Brand new bike. It's broken. Breaks the throttle tube. So here's Joe. Okay, what can we do? Well, we go to every dealer that's close to this area
to find a part.
And the bike's too new. They don't have just the tube. But you know what they have? A gunner gasser. And all these tuners out here.
Oh, is that like a man-made throttle for like a universal one?
So yeah, so it's like Motion Pro, I think, makes it. It's the stuff that you used to put on your quad or your three-wheeler when you were going to make it twist throttle.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
It's not for this race bike. And I remember Joe just making this thing work, and we finished that whole month with a gunner gasser on this.
That's a funny name too,
isn't it? Gunner gasser.
Yeah, it wasn't an ideal situation, but
no.
We made it work, and he was, we were able to continue riding, and that's what it's all about,
That right there is a true testament. But I mean, you got in the off-road scene, that's so standard,
right?
Yeah, some of the memories that I remember, Joe, and we'll get into some of these other questions too, but you went with Eric Anderson, or you took myself and Eric Anderson to the Seattle Supercross one year, and my most fondest memory of that trip was not even the race. I didn't care about the race. Was driving in the van with you guys for 24 hours going up there, and I was like, "How does this dude drink so much Coke and eat so many sunflower seeds? Like this shit is ridiculous." So Robbie Hornsby, that's why we have the Cokes out, because it's Joe Weining's favorite drink. So if you ever want to buy anybody a Christmas present, buy Joe a
There it
6-pack
is.
of Coke, man.
Yep.
Well, you've got some pretty big accomplishments. Let's talk about those bad boys. So I know two right off the top of my head because they were just recently at the last Baja 1000. So that happened, 4 weeks ago? And you had a trophy truck team and a 6100 team. I don't know which ones you were responsible for, but you guys got first in the 6100 car and second in the trophy truck team with Toby Price, right?
Yeah. We debuted a brand new Mason Motorsports trophy truck this year for the 1000, and
A four-wheel drive too.
correct, all-wheel drive. Jesse Jones has a broken foot, so he wasn't unable to do it, to drive and compete in it. So we ended up bringing Toby Price in from Australia,
Wow, that's
and
cool.
and also Nasser Latia. He's from Qatar. He's a big rally driver over there.
like the Dakar kind of stuff.
Correct. And those guys just killed it. They killed it in the trophy truck category. We started, I think, 22nd or 23rd in the field.
You guys started
And,
that far back, really?
Yeah. And Toby ran the first 540 miles, and he just steady cruising all morning, all day long into the night, and just picking off one, picking off another. Just,
That's no
Like-
small feat to.
no, it was huge.
Well, in the conditions that they were in this year, they had a bunch of rain, so it washed a bunch of stuff out, and it was just the track was toast.
Yeah, didn't it start one day late even?
Yes, this
That's
is
right, it
actually
was, like, bad.
I believe it's the second time in 51 years or whatever that it's been postponed because of the rain. We had
Wow.
torrential downpour, and it was.
Well, that's amazing that Toby is that good of a driver. But let's put it more in your context now. So, what were you thinking? Because that's got to be, well, hell, on a crew chief's brain, waiting a whole day and then making sure the truck's ready for the who knows what conditions. I mean, you do a bunch of pre-running and you only have now, let's just say 90% of the course done because some of it else has changed.
Yeah, exactly, and that's always a little difficult to deal with. But that's pretty much at that point, at that stage, it's in the driver's hands. There's not much you can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
as far as
that's a good
mechanically
point.
to the truck, it's
You just got to be there.
It's your job now, buddy. You got it.
Be there as a support program.
Yeah.
Is there any last minute setup stuff, or the truck's tried and true?
It's pretty much tried
Okay,
and true.
I mean,
what
and you know what I'm getting at. You know, the whole terrain basically changed because it
Correct.
got watered, it got mudded.
Correct. There's
Not really much change there. Last minute, whatever's.
last minute stuff, and just try to seal it up a little bit
Yeah,
because
protect it.
electrical connections yourself. I
Right.
mean, you get soaked. You know what I mean? And it's just, you're in the car for 12 hours, 13 hours,
Yeah,
trying to
that-
race, trying
that
to
could be
compete,
bad.
trying to be 100%. You know what I mean? And
That
now
could
you're
be
soaked to the bone, and you're cold, and it's pretty tough. But
When you go through a situation like that, so clearly it wasn't a plan. I mean, you do all the planning up to it as much as you can to be successful in the race.
correct.
But when you're throwing all of those different things in your lap, and then you come home being successful like that, how does it feel?
No, dude, it's huge.
I
It's
bet.
huge. It's like say some people take it personal, and myself I do, and it's awesome. It's so rewarding, and that's what makes you go to the next one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though the next one may be complete failure in 10 miles.
Yeah, it's kind of like filling up with
But
your tank with success and emotion and all that stuff until the next race.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes this whole dirt life thing go, is because those highs are so high and it's so awesome. You know what I mean? But there's so many lows to go with it.
Yep.
But it's just, you're just striving for the next one. And that's kind of what we do it.
We were talking about it earlier, and I think we probably have a pretty good guess of how you take this. But let me ask you, what kind of weight's on your shoulders? I mean, what we said was, you win, it's your fault. You lose, it's your fault. You break, it's your fault. I mean, not completely 100%, but I mean, you wear that. I'm sure you do. What's it like going up into that situation?
I think it depends on everybody. Actually, I take it personally. I love my job. I love what I'm doing. So yeah, I put a lot of weight on my shoulders. Just because I want the best we can possibly get.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I want to provide the best vehicle and the best system that we can possibly get for the driver to do their job.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if fortunately with the teams that I've worked with, we've had excellent drivers. To where if I can provide them a good piece of equipment, it's not a given, but we can be in the top 5, no problem.
That's good. That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? And
just hearing him talk like that, it puts it in perspective for me because you have an excellent team, excellent drivers, right? Well, you better be a fucking excellent crew chief. You better have that thing,
right.
Because otherwise, so that's more pressure.
Right.
But I think the way he grew up and the understanding that he has from a young age of all of these things, that's why he can handle it.
Absolutely.
And
and I would say, I mean, Joe, obviously, it can be bad, right? To certain, it's kind of a character, good and bad, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat, but at the same time, you've got dudes from all over, like knocking on the door. Somewhat, hey, it would be pretty cool maybe if you could work with us. That doesn't come with somebody who doesn't give a crap.
True.
So,
and I guess it's just kind of like say the way I am. I want to succeed and
Yep.
And it's all, and this whole off-road community is all just one big family.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you know what I mean. There's hardly any enemies, and when it comes race time, I'm gonna bump you. I'm gonna move you.
Right.
You know what I mean.
But you're gonna talk shit to the guy having a beer afterwards too.
After that, you're swapping stories and having a good time, and
right.
You just hit on the nail on the head that's why we started the show, is because of camaraderie and stuff. And it doesn't just happen in off-road, it's dirt bikes and stuff too. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more competitive, but everybody's doing it because they love it. Like, it's a passion, you know what I mean? And we all grew up doing the same stuff. So even going to the dunes, it's all that same camaraderie. Yeah. You've had the ability to work with some pretty cool people and some cool projects. Well, especially lately too. You got to go down to Australia and have some fun with Toby on a cool project down there too, right?
Yeah. We I was scheduled to do it last year. I didn't make it last year. This year, went over to work with Toby Price for an off-road race. It's an annual race. They call it Fink, and it's a 2-day race that they do over there every year. It's a desert race.
I think I saw it on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. It's very impressive.
Is it like a Baja kind of thing?
It is.
Okay.
It is very similar to a Baja deal, other than it's a 2-day.
Got it.
Almost a stage type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Went over there and prepped the truck for Toby and got him all situated, and we went and raced, and we won qualifying, which is the first time a Trophy Truck's ever won qualifying over there, so that was huge.
Who usually wins, buggies?
Buggies do, yeah. They have a different set of rules than over there than what we do here in the States or in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So the buggies are fast, really fast. I mean, they're twin turbocharged.
Oh shit! Really?
V6 application. Yeah, it's 1,000 horsepower to the ground. You know,
and somewhat light, and they handle obviously, so
correct.
Kind of makes sense, I guess.
Correct. And the trophy trucks.
They have straight axles or no?
The buggies don't. No, they're mostly independent. Okay. There's a couple, homemade guys that come out of the bush to do it. But the trophy truck category over in Australia is limited. They're only allowed to have a 6.0 liter naturally aspirated V8 engine.
Oh, really?
Which is fairly small. Or you could run a twin turbocharged V6 type application if you wanted to. So the trucks are underpowered, but they've got the weight and the suspension to overcome the buggy. So that's kind of where they're doing that balancing act. But anyhow, back to we qualified out front, which was great. And on day one, we killed them. We won hands down with some 7 minutes.
Dang, really?
Yeah, it was great.
That's pretty good, man.
That's awesome.
And the next day, we ended up breaking a rear differential.
Oh,
and
man.
we weren't able to continue. But the whole Fink experience with Toby was great. It was awesome.
So it probably gave you a little bit of prep work, too, like knowing the person and knowing how they drive and things like that makes a big difference when you can do the second time.
Correct.
Which would have been Baja, right?
Correct.
Because that was after.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
And we also did they had me come over and pretty much maintain the trophy truck for a video. It's called Toby Price Cracked.
Oh, I saw that, dude.
Yeah,
That's what we were talking about. That's the same.
Dude, he hucks his trophy truck over some big-ass jumps.
and that was really enjoyable. Red Bull Australia had brought me over to do all that with them, and that was a lot more enjoyable because the pressure. All I got to do is keep the truck running.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, there's some pressure because we had, Red Bull film crew with us and all kinds of, film crew and camera guys and photography. And
Oh, wait, sorry, the $1 million truck doesn't work. Sorry, everybody, right?
yeah, exactly.
Not happening.
So without a trophy truck, we got no video.
Right.
And these guys are standing around. So they brought me over to kind of maintain that, and it went great. We had a blast doing it. And
Dude, that does sound fun.
And Toby actually had the opportunity to drive the truck and have fun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a race 120%
Race
application.
situation or whatever.
You know what I mean? It was just huck it around and goof off, and, it was
Yeah,
fun.
that's fun. Well, since we're just talking about it, I'm going to put some pictures on the screen right now. So, but we'll keep talking about some of this fun stuff that you did.
That's the one with the eggs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys out there have seen it or not, but look it up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can look it up on YouTube. It's Toby Price Cracked.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
so check that out on YouTube. You've done some pretty cool stuff as far as I'm concerned because you got to play with kangaroo.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, Skippy.
Is that what they really called it?
Yeah,
Skippy.
they call him Skippy. He was actually a pet kangaroo that they had brought on for one of the shots.
How
But,
is it when you're in a situation? Because I just saw a picture come up where you were underneath the truck. Like, how is it when you're in a situation and maybe you need to weld it and you need to be like in a real pressure situation and you have to work with others? Because you can obviously, have success doing it by yourself in a garage. But what about when you're having to work with others and stuff on the team and you need help and stuff like that?
It's I personally have to do it all myself.
Yeah.
I just feel that that's the way I've been, and in lieu of that, there's long hours, several long hours.
So you just
But-
bow up once and then they leave you alone?
No, there's I've learned over the years that you just can't do it all by yourself. You know what I mean? Especially in a high pressure situation. You know what I mean? And there's just there's guys that are there to help that you can just kind of read and you just kind of, okay, yeah, I can hand this guy a wrench and have him do a specific job, and I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? But there's other guys that, hey, hand me a Coke.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I was getting at, too, is that's part of the crew chief's job, though, is to be able to sense that. You know what I mean? Like, you almost have to be a psychologist where you get to the race and ask certain questions so you know who's going to be good at their job and stuff.
There's some management traits there, Joe. You probably just don't realize it.
Yeah.
Truthfully, there is.
There is, but at the same time, even here in town, when I'm doing all the Jesse Jones stuff and the stuff for Mr. John Herder, just me, myself, and I, and there's no way to blame. You know what I mean? If you didn't tighten that bolt, I didn't tighten. You know what I mean? That's it. It's all on my shoulders, and I just.
There's something that's kind of self-fulfilling with that way of working on it too, though. It's because when you win, it was you had a lot to do with it. But I really think that you have to be a certain person to be able to accept that. When we go to the races and I would work on my short course car and things like that, it's nowhere near the level that Joe was working at. But I was liable for everything.
Mm-hmm.
If I failed working on the car and we didn't win or we didn't do good, it was my fault. You know what I mean? So we're letting down a lot of people. So
same principle for sure.
There's give and take for sure.
Right.
Well, let's kind of go back a little bit and then talk about how you got into all this stuff then. So when you had to get a job, like every 18-year-old does, where'd you go from school?
I through motorcycle riding, I met a guy here in Southern Arizona that was a manager at a semiconductor company, and we rode together a lot. And he said, "Oh, you need to come work for us. You need to come work for us." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know anything about computers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm just a backyard kid that just, And he said, "No, your mechanical skills beyond
Yeah.
this." He finally ended up talking me into it.
Well,
And
let me step in there real quick. That's funny that he says that, though. It's because, I don't know if you know, this has been a hot topic lately of people not wanting to go to college. College is too expensive. College is this and that. I'm just going to go get a job. Most of the time that doesn't happen. In my profession, it didn't happen. I had to go get a college education. But before I went to college, I didn't know how to turn on a computer. And I got a computer science degree. Right. So it's like kind of the trial by fire thing. And most people won't ever be able to say that same sentence that Joe just said. Mm-hmm. Most people have to work their way into something like that. When he got offered that job, it wouldn't have been the same story had he said no. But he said yes.
Exactly.
No, and that's
well, the guy obviously had an eye for it.
Yeah.
And he knew you well enough to know this guy can take that same work ethic and just apply it a little differently. That's what that was.
And going on your college education deal, it is important. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today without, if I would have had an engineering degree,
right,
or something of that sort. Was in the got into the semiconductor industry for several years, and I actually ended up living down in Costa Rica, working at a Intel facility.
Sweet.
And I was down there for about a year and a half, and loved it, enjoyed it, had a great time. Of course, riding motorcycles on the weekend or fishing, one of the two.
Riding in Costa Rica sounds bitchin'.
It was great. It was definitely different. The wet ground is different from our Arizona ground here.
And it was always watered, right?
Yeah.
Rocks and dust.
But after a couple of years doing the semiconductor industry, the company had sold out and went in a different direction. Mm-hmm. So it left me unemployed. Mm-hmm. And trying to find a job in the same field without knowing somebody.
In the United States, or?
Yeah, in the States. Just
I can imagine, yeah. That's, with the computer jobs and stuff, like I even had a hard time, and I had the college education and everything, but it's not slim fit. Like, they can pick whoever they want. Yeah. There's so many people that go for those jobs nowadays, at least. So I could see what you're saying. So, you go in there and I won't say that college is not important because it's taught me a lot.
Yeah.
I think the knowledge that you have, if you were going up a college-educated person against a college-educated person, if the manager that was going to hire somebody, they would pick the guy that's going to work the hardest, that has the experience. But I can see what you're saying if they don't want to hire you because of that.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of what it had come down to is, you just got a high school education. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And not being able to prove to them what I could physically do on paper, you know what I mean? I wasn't really able to go too far because I didn't have a college education. I didn't have an engineering
Wouldn't
degree.
it be bitching if they just had tryouts, but like, hey, fix this?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Because that was, I could run circles around a lot of engineers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Although
Well, to give some of the engineers props, though, a lot of them could probably run circles around what we could do, or you
of course,
could do, yeah.
100%.
But, yeah, I see what you're saying.
But, so, obviously having to provide for a house and myself and, and
yeah,
and stuff like that. So I got back into working on cars.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I was working at an off-road shop here in town, and they were going through some rough times. So it was me by myself, and the boss had left for some reason or another. And an old friend of mine, friend of all of ours, used to own a motorcycle shop here in Tucson.
Donnie?
Donnie Ziff.
Yeah,
used to work for Donnie.
He came walking in, and
guy.
I was under a truck or something, and I could hear flip-flops on the floor, and I
he
could
had a
look.
dog, and he had a dog with him, I'm sure.
I think he did.
So
yeah.
anybody that's watching that does or doesn't know, Donnie does suspension nowadays for motorcycles and UTVs and stuff like that. But he used to own a shop, and there's one thing that's been common his whole life is he only wears flip-flops.
Yep. In the winter, it doesn't matter.
But anyhow, I couldn't see who he was, but I could see the flip-flops, walking in, and it had been years since I had seen him. He had went to Havasu for some water or jet ski stuff.
Yep.
World Finals, probably.
World Finals, yeah. And at the same time, I was in Costa Rica. You know what I mean? So we were worlds apart. Anyhow, I come stumbling in one day, and And he
Small
said,
town.
hello. And I said, holy cow, is that Donnie Ziff? And we got to talking just like old times, catching up on, shoot, it must have been 2 or 3 years since we'd seen each other.
Small town conversation catch
Yeah.
up.
And he said, hey, I got a buddy that races off-road. His name's John Herder. Really, really looking for some help. And I'm like, well, okay, cool. That'd be fun, And about a year went by, and Mr. John Herder called me.
Cool.
A
And then
year, huh?
About a year, yeah.
Wow.
And it all went downhill from there. I ended up going.
What
to
kind
work
of car
for-
was he using?
It was in a Class 1.
Okay.
This was in 2006.
Cool.
And it was Class 1 buggy. And that was when Class 1 was prime. That was 35 to 40 cars.
Yep.
Every single race. I mean, it was
Class
big.
1 was the UTV class of these days.
Yeah, it was gnarly. You know what I mean? And John was a hot shoe. He's still a hot shoe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we won a Best in Desert Championship, won a bunch of races that year.
That's awesome.
And we built a new car and just had tons of teething problems with it. This and that and that and this, and kind of just, okay, well, just like you said earlier, mentioned earlier, George, that on the way home from a race, the mind's just going, never stopping. And you get home and you start implementing these changes that you want to do, and let's go to the next one. And okay, well, that worked, but now this failed. Let's go on to this part. And just constantly. And
it really does get you thinking, though. Like, it really puts your mind into what we just call overdrive, because let's just say it's a power steering pump. Then you have no idea how a power steering pump works. Well, a week later, I guarantee you know every single thing about that power steering pump. And you could build it better if you had the tools. But so you don't have the tools, you work with somebody, you get it better, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to have that knowledge, dude.
yeah, no, it's great. And I've had the luck and the fortune to be able to do that, to implement these changes, and they may not be big changes, but every little thing makes a difference. You know what I mean? And
To stay on that subject, like nowadays, and we'll get through to what led up to this, but nowadays it's going from a Class 1 car in 2006 to an all-wheel drive trophy truck. It's like a go-kart compared to F1. Like,
right.
It's insane different.
yes,
So it's pretty amazing to see that you could learn in 2006 to 2018, in the grand scheme of things, is not that long of a time.
It's
No.
not. And, in retrospect, follow me here on this. Everybody knows John Herder is a freaking wheel. That guy can
Yeah.
drive.
yeah,
And
Absolutely.
Since it's been quads, dirt bikes, you name it. I mean, I don't know how many championships he won on quads. I think he retired and it was still his forever, I think, But if you think about it,
The GOAT.
I agree. I think every time it broke, it was probably, hope John's not listening, but John breaking it, because he's like, I'm going to win and I'm going to drive this thing as hard as I can. So it probably really helped you going, okay, I'm going to John proof this car.
yeah, no, exactly.
And it probably
That's a good way to look at it.
took you guys to levels now, because now, I mean, that's what every racer says. They're like, if I just had equipment that I could go as fast as I could. And we know that's how John's programmed. Absolutely.
No,
On the
that's-
quad, he just hangs back more and, give it more.
Yep.
So my guess is that, again, in retrospect, all those things led you to where now you're working with the best drivers in the freaking world.
Yeah, no, and it's
You've already been through those problems of, oh, man, you can't even put part number X with part number A because those don't go together. You need to build it like this.
yeah, no, and it's the same thing getting into the trophy truck category with Mr. Jesse Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Those guys can outdrive the equipment
Mm-hmm.
whenever they want to. So it's like you say, it's okay. Well, each time, you know what I mean, and let's make the equipment to where they can't outdrive that part anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? And eventually,
The crew chief versus the driver.
You know what I mean?
That's what it is.
it really is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in time,
So
you've got a
awesome.
winning combination. You
Think
know
how
what I
that
mean?
all that meshed, right? In little old Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah. No,
I mean, I
that's-
think if John were on a big stage, that guy is probably as good as anybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
and here we are in little old Tucson,
Yeah.
Arizona, and he's like, I'm going to help this guy figure out how to
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is
Yep.
so awesome.
No, and it's funny. John's daughter, Peyton, has just got into a Can-Am, a desert Can-Am program
Nice.
this year.
Cool.
And it's fun. You know what I mean? It is really cool to watch him and his
I like
daughter
to hear
together.
that, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she's got a little shoe on her. She does.
That's going to be a lot of life lessons learned too.
yeah.
And he rides with her. You know what I mean? And which I don't know if that's a good combination or not because he's full go.
He is. That's awesome.
But it's been fun, and I maintain the car for him. You know what I mean? And it's cool. It's been neat to do that.
How cool is that, Toby Price? Yeah, Joe, Hollywood, you're a badass, mate.
It was pretty cool.
Thanks, Toby.
Thanks for the shout out, Toby. We appreciate that. Well, so you did some other pretty cool stuff, and I credit you for being the dickhead that got me into short course racing. Because when I went out to the races, and I'm just going to give it away, you worked for Jeff Ward and the speed team. And you've also worked for Geyser and Kennedy team and all those things. But when I went out there, you're always busy, but you took about 5 minutes of your time so I could talk to you when I was out there. It's the first short course race I've ever been to. I didn't know what was going on. And I go, these things are pretty cool. Like, I was interested in the Pro Lights because it was the cheap program.
Correct.
Right? But you're like, the amount of work you had to do and the things you had to do and how you talked about it and, you know, just as how we talked about on the phone and text messaging back and forth, it was cool to hear. But how was it being in those programs?
The short course program with Speed Technologies and
for
Jeff
those
Ward,
that don't know, Jeff Ward was a badass at short course too.
He's a badass on almost anything you put him on.
He did what?
to be honest with
IndyCar,
you.
short course, obviously championship motorcycle racer.
Yeah.
Who were some of the guys that you were up against at that time? Ricky Johnson was out there, no?
Yeah, Ricky Johnson, Rob McCack, Carl Renazetter. There was a bunch of heavy hitters that
That's
had
like
been
right
doing,
when the moto dudes started getting in, huh?
Yeah, correct. And those guys were long time short course
Right,
guys.
they're seasoned
Carl,
already.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we had a very well developed truck. We started out with a Pro 2 truck from Fluger Racing, and it had already had a season on it, to where it was a pretty good truck, to be honest with you.
Well, let's take a step back real quick. So people that don't know, whenever a new Pro 2 is built, there's always so much learning curve to make that thing handle, like geometry stuff, shock mount.
Yeah.
So when you say you had we'll call it a mature truck, there's a lot of positives that can happen out of that for a new team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, no, it was huge. And the main thing was getting Wardy up to speed, which he did right away.
He gets in there and is eating a sandwich and
pretty much.
Yeah.
What was he stepping out into this?
You know,
cars.
Was
I thought
it
it was
the
cars.
Indy Light stuff or whatever
I
that
think
was?
it was something like that, or
Okay.
carts, IRL. And,
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
We had a Goodyear tire sponsorship, and that was great, but it was a DOT tire, to where you could go down to your tire shop and buy the same tire.
Oof.
So that
And
was
everybody else was using
A real off-road tire?
correct. Everybody was using a purpose-built tire. So that was a big learning curve. There's a lot of grooving, a lot of sight, a lot of different compound, a lot of different
Pete
pressures.
McAlpin said it was great working with you in Australia, buddy.
Oh, nice. Just, and then, like you said, track bar setup
Yeah.
and getting the truck to sit back on that DOT tire, trying to make the tire do the work when it should be doing the work already. You know what I mean? But like I say, it was tough. You know what I mean?
You should have just come to a couple of short course races this year because they all had to switch to DOT tires. So you could have been like, all right, got you.
Yeah. But it was a short course is a lot of work. So much work, They dropped the green flag and it's just a mess.
So
you know what I mean?
We did
It's
a
not like
little.
you're going to make up any time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
Yeah.
We did a little calculation for me because it was easy. For about every 120 hours worth of work I did in preparation, I got roughly 15 to 25 minutes worth of driving
With a
time.
runtime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's the same, and like in
And I was just in a UTV, so
yeah, like in the pro category, within the first 2 or 3 corners, if somebody ran into you or you
Toast.
ran into somebody and ripped the hood off of it, ripped the bedside mounts off of it,
yeah.
and every time you go out, you got to have a fresh body on it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it
Sponsors.
was just like, not alone whatever else happened during the event.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You lose a transmission, you lose a motor. You know what I mean? There's been several nights that we were doing a transmission change. You know what I mean? Or a rear differential change, or even motor changes. And
so what happens, Joe, when you're? So I can relate it to the RC stuff, right? Obviously, similarities, but lots of differences as well, right? But I could see this. Okay, you're out in practice, especially with this new truck, right? And driver saying, I need blah, blah, blah because it's oversteering and it's bucking off this and you got a laundry list of things to do, right? You already know what you want to do.
Yeah.
And now he rips all the sponsor stuff off it, right? And now you have to do both.
Yeah.
So is there one that takes precedence? Or do you just get more people?
No, we had a good crew with us. You know, we had 4 of us that worked on the truck specifically, and but setup. I mean, you
can't race it if it can't go straight, right?
You got to perform.
But
the bottom line is winning.
Right.
You
still got to have the hood on. You still got the fins.
Yeah, you're supposed to have all that stuff on. But
you get the buddies to put that on, right?
Yeah.
I need to make this thing work.
That's funny not thinking about that. Like in motocross, you got a goggle guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, I got a right fender guy.
You got somebody that brings you gear.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
not in off road.
But no, it was fun. There was so much learning. I learned a lot, and as far as like I say, getting the car to sit back on the tire and getting it to rotate, and getting it to jump straight, and just my gosh, it was.
So those learning
fun.
things are super cool, and they teach you a lot about vehicle dynamics and things like that. But how was it with the people though? Because you're getting thrown into a position where you're no longer able to just do your own thing.
It was tough. You know what I mean? But fortunately, the 4 of us that were together on the Wardy truck had been in the off-road industry for a long time, and we all just kind of worked really well together. We all spent a lot of time at Speed Technologies in Reno together. You know what I mean? And it was really a good dynamic between the 4 of us. So it was. It was a lot of fun.
What are some of the most fun times that you had during that short course stuff? Because you also worked with Geyser Brothers for a little while too. Like obviously working with Wardy, being on the podium consistently was fun, but you always have those little times. Like I remember one of the funnest times for my short course racing. We did totally shitty. I think I got maybe top 10, but we were up in Reno.
Yeah,
and we had like a whole fan thing. Like, and they all knew me, and like I was like so surprised because I'm just a little dude riding UTVs, right? But it was super cool. Like I remember it like it was yesterday because it was so much fun during the pits and all the hospitality and stuff.
Yeah. No, that's what's neat about the short course is all of the publicity that comes along with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
It's such a bigger crowd. It seems like
correct.
It's really one of the diehards that are going however many miles out into the desert
to see you for 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
To watch the trophy truck almost hit them or whatever.
Yep.
But these guys, this is a whole bigger stage. Like that brings it,
Yeah, and that's there's TV involved in it, and therefore there's sponsorships that you know what I mean. It's just kind of a
but all the audience is waiting for that first turn fuck up.
Yeah,
I know.
So which one would you say gave you more? If anything gave you the, oh man, we're gonna go do this. Would it be that or would it be off road? Which I mean, each one probably is rewarding in its own regard, but it almost seems like more stress in the short course because when you do have that situation that I was just talking about, you got like 14 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In fact, I remember running into you in Glen Helen one day, and I was talking to you from underneath the truck.
I think it was George and I.
Yeah. I think
Actually, I can't remember. Anyways, but yeah, you were there. You were working, and it was like, you didn't say it, but I could tell. I mean, I knew what you were doing.
No, you're under the gun to get out to the next practice. Right. You know what I mean?
I haven't seen you for like 5 years, but I got to put this, whatever. Yeah. That's cool.
But I'd have to say the off-road stuff. I really love the off-road stuff. Like I said, I've been doing it for many years, and just the reward is a lot fewer and further in between.
It means
but
more.
it's so much more. You know what I mean?
Like, did it just blow your next question?
No, you're totally good.
But, and the same thing with going back to the 1000 this year, Austin Jones. He just killed it. All night long. I mean, all day long, all night long. Those guys, it's one of those days to where you get out of the truck and you're kind of like, it was kind of boring, uneventful. Well, if it was boring and if it was uneventful, that means you had a fantastic day.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you weren't changing tires,
Everything
you weren't changing transmission, you weren't doing drive line. You were just driving, doing your job, And there you are. You're on top of the podium, almost an hour ahead of everybody else in your category. You know what I mean? It's just did a fantastic job on it, and that's what is rewarding. You know what I mean? Like I say, there was a picture up there with Jesse Jones and I standing on top of the race car.
Yeah.
And you get out the
that one right there.
Yeah,
that's a good picture.
That's
too.
from Parker 425 several years ago. How was the race? How was all that?
Yeah, we have some music going on in the background, but nobody can hear it, so we're good. Well, so before we get into the next question, so if Peter and Toby are still on listening, I think they should. You guys can go do whatever you got to do right now, but come back in like 20 minutes. We got a Q&A session for Joe that he doesn't he doesn't even know about either. So you guys will learn some stuff about the crew guys. It'll be a fun session, and we want you guys can answer the questions too. Well, what do you think about because you just mentioned Jesse's daughter getting into UTVs?
No, John Herder's daughter.
John's daughter. That's
Peyton,
what it was.
Yeah.
What do you think about the UTVs now?
UTVs are awesome.
When you got into off-road, there wasn't UTVs happening.
No, there was
rhinos.
a couple guys that had rhinos.
UTVs were taking the tires to the pits.
There you go.
UTVs weren't racing.
The UTV category is awesome. You know what I mean? It really changed. As far as I'm concerned, in the way I see it, it's changed the world of off-road.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
Because now, if you got $1,000 bill and a decent credit score, you can go get yourself a
race car,
a decent UTV,
right,
and be halfway competitive.
That was the exact appeal that I had too.
You know what I mean? And then from there, it's just a money pit.
Yeah.
But
because they break all the time.
it gives the mom and the pops and the sons and stuff a chance to get into this off-road thing, and it's safe, and it's, you know what I mean? You just gotta be level-headed about it.
Even aside from the racing stuff, it's just bitching to go to the dunes and to give everybody the chance to live the dirt life.
Exactly.
So it's super cool. And you can take the wife and the kids out. So you got a 4-seater. You go out cruising and stuff too.
No, the wife and the kids love it.
Yeah.
We have a blast in ours, and
that one you're already teaching Tyler, your son, the dirt life, because you sent me a video, and I think I posted it online actually. But you're controlling the pedals, he's sitting on your lap, and he's whipping the steering wheel.
Yeah,
around.
a little 6-year-old just wheeling it shocked me, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's good or if it's bad, because I could easily.
Don't let him ride with John.
I could easily go in that direction because that's the way I was raised,
right.
off-roading and doing that. But there's no money involved in it.
Yeah, it's just a money pit. Yeah, if you want to be a millionaire in off-road, you start with two.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, go pick up a baseball bat or a golf club. You know what I mean? But I don't know that stuff. And even to this day, even now, he's my son had just turned 7. He goes out in the shop with me all the time and does stuff with me, and it's a blast. And he's learning, and
yeah, but
he's headed in that direction, unfortunately.
But if you think back, Joe, I say this all the time, and you would too. You wouldn't trade a second of those memories and the getting yelled at with the wrench and making sure you put it back to the same place. I mean, all that stuff adds up, right? And
oh my gosh,
it's what's paved your way.
Yep.
It's what it's supposed to be. So embrace it. He's going to be a moto head. He'll be a dirt head.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing with you, George. Your father running a transmission shop.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You just kind of. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
He doesn't ever say that I did a good job, though. Every time he talks to somebody, he's like, well, he started working for me when he was like 12, but all he did was squirt himself right in the face with ATF. That's the only story I get.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, so appreciate it, Dad. Thanks for all the props, man. Letting everybody know what I squirted oil all over myself.
But, and you look back, or I look back, and I just remember, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, 8 o'clock in the morning, Dad had us out in the garage.
Yep.
And God, I used to hate him for doing that. You know what I mean? We could never sleep in. We could never do what we wanted. But now, wouldn't trade it for the world, man. It's
absolutely
awesome that he
all
did
of us
that
would
with
say
us.
the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of our audience would say the same exact thing too, man. So it's cool to hear those stories. Well, with the UTV stuff, do you see any changes? How do you see okay, well, let me reverse engineer this question actually. Would Toby, would Bryce Menzies, would Jesse, would AJ, any of those guys consider racing a UTV?
You know, I know Toby races his
Can-Am
at
down
Can-Am over there in Australia. He races 2 or 3 races a year.
Just like
And,
fuck around races.
Yeah, and they're fun, you know, and he loves it, and it's a good time. And as far as I know, anybody that drives UTV has a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like say Bryce Menzies and Jesse Jones, would they race one? I'm sure they would. Austin Jones, Jesse's son, is they're preparing right now to go to Dakar next month
yeah,
and go
that's
race a
gonna be
Dakar
bitchy.
race over in
Dude, that's no small feat, man.
no,
And
it's
they're going to do
huge.
that in a UTV?
in a Can-Am. Yep.
Holy
Yeah.
I mean,
not
not that it's no joke in any vehicle, but it seems like in a UTV, like
Well, so I was thinking about this the other day actually, and clearly I like UTVs now because of my situation. I would first and foremost pick a moto.
that's what I was
bike
thinking.
to
If
do
you were
it.
going to do that,
But in the elements, that's so much gnarlier. Like going out and controlling a bike for that long, and the dude like going and you're wide open, right?
Yep.
So it's like the scare factor is like 200 in that,
Sure.
right? In a UTV, you're still scare factor 100, but you're protected and it's still bitching. So I don't know. I was kind of like on the fence. And then I was like thinking like, what about the guys that drive the cars, or, you know, like the Mini Coopers and all those different things? And I was like, I'm just going to go way out on a limb here. I'm just going to pick one of those big ass Kamaz truck, whatever.
Unimogs or whatever. they
Yeah,
call
those
it,
big old
whatever
huge
they are. Yeah, those are awesome.
squares, like ice
The
boxes
big diesel thing.
with big old 50-inch
Yeah,
tires
there
or
you go.
whatever.
Yeah,
So
no.
And you can carry all of the A-arms and
No, I'm
axle.
racing that thing,
No,
dude. I'm
for
going
all
tapped.
the UTV guys.
yeah.
Yeah. No, the
Yeah, exactly.
that the rally stuff like the car and over there is the guys that are on bikes are just they're out of control. It's unbelievable because they've got to navigate where they're going.
Yeah.
They don't know where they're going.
And you can't
That's
use,
all happening.
you can't use computer navigation in those races. You have to
Correct.
use paper navigation.
Like remember the old school desert
Yeah,
dial?
that's it.
Oh
That's
my
exactly
gosh.
what they do.
Wow.
They still do it.
That's part of the race.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're doing it all on the fly. You know what I mean? It's to where if you're in a UTV or a truck or a Mini or anything of that sort, you've got your navigator
Right.
that can tell you, you know, Cat 5, you know, you want to go left here at so many meters, you know what I mean? And
Would you ever like
Which
to
is
go
huge.
over there and help with one of those teams?
I would love to. I'd love to go see what it's like. I know in the gist of things, it's a lot like short course.
Yeah.
You know, they're on a daily stage pretty much. The car gets, you know, back in the evening from their stage, however long that may be, and it's full. You know, this team that Austin is with is South Racing.
Yeah, it's the same one
And
Casey Curry's with too.
Correct. It's a factory-backed deal, and they're new diffs, new axles, new, you know what I mean, every night. And they've got a team of guys that just attack. And in the morning, they get a brand new car and they go out. You know what I mean?
That's
To
pretty
where
cool.
it's pretty neat. You know what I mean? But it's a lot of sitting around until crunch time, and then when it's crunch time, it's really crunch time, and
Yeah.
it's go. You know what I mean? Being that the car's good. Now, if they yard sailed the car, you got that much more work to do.
Yeah.
Man, we gotta
You
get
know
you.
what I mean?
We gotta get a phone conversation
So-
with you and Nasser to be like, hey man, have me come over and help.
Yeah, no, he's this year 2000 he was down there with us with his navigator Matthew,
Yeah.
and they are on a different level. They don't use the GPS. You know what I mean? He
For
he
the
knew
whole
how,
1,000, he didn't use it.
no, they knew how to turn it on and navigate a little bit through it, but
We don't
no,
need it.
no, I'll just write my notes.
No
And
shit.
and Matthew had, I think he said 130 pages of notes for, I think they did a 280-mile section.
MapQuest.
And
Dude, how much you want to bet
and
that
he-
guy owns like a brick phone or doesn't even have a cell phone?
That's the way they do it over there. They're
That's
not allowed
awesome.
GPS. They're not,
There's a lot of like,
dude, it's
you got to be a
crazy.
pretty badass to
It's
be able
pretty
to do that.
sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
Because
neat, really neat.
and you're not just writing down turn left, turn right. You're writing down terrain. You're writing down you're writing down everything.
Yep.
Like there's a rock over there on the right hand
Yep.
side. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
dang, that's crazy.
it was really impressive to see it. You know,
I
what
would love
mean?
to see you be able to get into some of that stuff, man. That stuff is it's getting so popular for the car and all the UTV stuff. First of all, I would like to see you doing more UTV stuff just because I'm so into it. But
Yeah.
I think that would be so bitching for you to get down there, dude.
So we've the last 2 years we've competed with my buddies John Herder and Steve Melton and another friend of ours, Shannon. We've raced in the Nora 1000.
Oh, that I want to go
It's
down there.
It's the Mexican 1000.
Yeah.
And They give you a road book with all your navigation points on it. The only cheater is they'll give you a GPS file with the trail, but that's it. So it's just a trail. So you're just following the trail. But they have little waypoints in the trail on the GPS.
So if you get lost, you can go back.
You can come to waypoint 25, and you flip through your book and
Figure
you
out where you
there's
are.
a ditch there. Or there's a speed zone at waypoint 25. You know what I mean? So you got to
cool.
follow your road book the whole time. And it's exciting. It's fun. I love it. It's something new. It's a challenge. You know what I mean? And the road book stuff is...
It's a whole nother brain game.
Yeah, of course. Then you go through a riverbed and you're soaked and your book's soaked. And
Oh,
you know,
no.
but it's fun. It's good times.
What's some of the funnest things that you've had to deal with that stuff? I mean, you've worked with some really cool people, but you were telling me the other day that like you've really enjoyed like chasing this year at the Baja 1000. What's some of the funnest things? Because I know that these chase experiences that you guys get to have a good time with each other.
Yeah, the chasing is fun. I take it to because I have so much involved in it. You know what I mean? I got everything. This whole truck is sitting on my shoulders. So I feel that it's my responsibility to be as many places as I can possibly be. You know, a lot of people will go to a pit and they'll do their pit and then that's done in 30 seconds, 35 seconds, and that's it. They're done. You know what I mean? I've always tried to get in. I've always been in one of Jesse's pre-runners, which is a Ford F-150, but it's got trophy truck suspension on it. You know what I mean? It's a full-on trophy truck with windows and AC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
That's what we need.
Sounds like you got the better gig.
And it's me and one other guy usually. So and we set out, and I don't have a plan.
Let me qualify this real quick before you finish, so Casey understands this. So chasing in the Baja, in any rate, it's changed since how it used to be. So there's a lot of chase teams or teams that have chase vehicles that are pre-running chase and chase truck chase. So there's guys actually on course or close to course in pre-runners that are there as emergency. And then there's also big trucks with stuff on them following in different areas.
Like the old school.
Yeah. But we're not talking one or two trucks. We're talking up to, like, let's just say 20 trucks going around. And Joe said he likes being in one of the pre-runners to chase.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, no, I enjoy doing that just because I have 10 times the opportunity to visually see the truck than anybody else does. If something happens to the truck on course, I'm the one that works on it.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to jump on course
and be there.
Get to it to try to assist them if I can. You know what I mean? And I've had plenty of helicopter experiences and stuff. And they're, you want to go on the bird, for the day? I'm like, no, I don't. Because when I'm on the bird, I'm no good.
Yeah, you're far
I'm useless. You know what I mean? I want to be on the ground where I can get to that truck if I have to get to that truck. So
that's cool.
And it's I've kind of been paying attention over the last couple Baja 1000s. And I don't know how I do it because I never do it any time of the year other than that. But I'll average anywhere from 30 to 38 hours. No sleep. Just go.
Nothing but Cokes.
Nothing but Coca-Cola.
And it's just like, of course, when you're done and the adrenaline wears off, you're done. You're out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it takes you an extra day to get home, but hey, whatever. At least you're getting home. You know what I mean? You got to be smart enough to realize that.
Well, and it just goes to show you basically put your health and well-being second to that truck and the team. I mean, it's huge. It really is.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy. It's that's just life, man. That's what I do. That's what we all do, and you're there to win. You're not there to goof around. You know what I mean?
And you don't take those commitments lightly.
I'm gonna work on the computer real quick. You guys keep talking about that stuff.
But now some of the like I say, Jesse and I won a score championship in 2010. That was big. That was fun. Just due to the fact that I prepped the truck all year long, and we built the truck, and we won think 3 out of 5 races that year. You know what I mean? We just had a great
That's
year.
awesome.
So that, of course, was huge. And there's been other race wins, you know what I mean, that just seems like it takes some more than others, you know, much more personally. And it sets in, you know what I mean? Because there's several times to where, even though I work, there's a shop, you know, within 40 yards of the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next thing you know, you look outside and it's dark and the kids are in bed and sometimes it wears on you.
Yeah.
You know
what
what I mean?
happened to the week?
Yeah, and it's, you know, there's been probably only a handful of times where, God, I just wish I had an 8-to-5 job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
but it makes those.
I mean, a
It
handful.
makes those big wins so much more.
Yeah.
Memorable and important, I guess.
Exactly, and being able to work with the people that we work with, you know, and like I say, it's all a family. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the end of the race, you're talking and drinking beers with everybody, and before the race, you're doing that. But when it's race day, it's race day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I kind of got him in there. So let me throw this out here, Joe. Let's go memory lane here for a second.
Oh boy, I got some of those.
So everybody remembers the Brian Deegan ghost ride, right?
Oh yeah.
But there's only a few of us that remember the brand new 1996, 95.
I think it was a 6, yeah.
96.
Yep.
This was Joe's baby, but that first brand new bike ever had. He was so pumped on it. That thing was beautiful. We were jumping this big jump in the dunes, and I was going around to tee up for the next run. The next thing I know, this thing is wide open and full ghost ride. I don't know if anybody knows what happened, but that poor thing, I'll never take that out of my mind. Just that Joe's down here and the bike's way up here, and it's just gone.
Yeah, it was one of the. We were jumping over a Storman's truck.
Yeah,
Toyota
that's
four-wheel drive.
exactly what it was. Yep.
And we were going from one dune to the other dune, and I don't know, something. I mean, we did it
Bunch
50
of
times.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And this one time, I was gonna go bigger than I'd gone before, and just fully ghost rode that thing. And I can remember just floating in the air, just kind of walking. You know what I mean? Thinking, oh my God, what? Do I try to hold myself, or do I just let my knees crumple? You know what I mean? Do I just let my knees come into my chest? You know, and it was just slow motion. I'm watching the bike just 15 feet above me.
I remember.
But it was fun. I mean, it's part of growing up.
That was a good trip. That was always fun.
We had some great sand dune trips growing up.
Absolutely.
We're having some internet service issues with our provider. Cox, I'll throw you under the bus. You guys suck. One of our buddies, Ray, works for Cox, so he's awesome. So Ray aside from Cox, but Cox, fuck you right now.
So Joe, what is this is probably hard. This is probably a hard question. Is there one event, or are there a handful of events, and maybe they weren't wins, but like hold the biggest memory to you, or like they're the most special? Like how would you? That's probably a hard one because there's so many highs and so many lows. But like we said, even on those what seem to be failures, they're really not, because they're like building the next thing, and they're like the reason for the victories. So are there any of those ones that you can like pinpoint and go, that was like a turning point, that was important?
You know, and like you just said, none of them, every one of them has something to come out of. You know, I mean, we're learning on every race, regardless of a you know, a bad break right in the beginning. I mean, we raced a Baja 500 several years ago. We went 11 miles.
Oh no!
Broke the transmission.
Bummer.
You know what I mean? And it's so frustrating. But we learned something out. So
Right.
you can't take it as a negativity.
Right.
But there's a handful of races. There was a race when I was with John Herder. We were on a very small team. We'd have a flatbed trailer, the race car, a pickup truck, and 4 guys.
Nice.
And we're competing against these Robbie Gordon.
Yeah.
These
Full
big,
on
big
real.
back then coin pro comp guys were really big. You know, there was some really big heavy hit, terrible Herbst guys.
Mm-hmm.
We just show up with this little dune buggy. You know what I mean? And it was a 250-mile race, and they called it Terrible's Town 250, and it was the big money race.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think, $25,000 to win. So all the heavy hitters are there, and it's only 250 miles. It's big money.
Mm-hmm.
We can make it happen, and we went there, and John had qualified up front on the pole and took off and was doing great all day long, just killing it. And he got a flat and took, it's a single seat car, so he was by himself.
Mm-hmm.
We changed the flat, and the field had caught up to him, and we were supposed to do a driver change.
So you had to chase.
Yeah,
to get to the tire, right?
I was in a chase truck, but he had a spare on the car.
Oh, okay. So he's probably already got her.
Yeah, so he's done that.
Right.
He gets going again, and we were supposed to do a driver change. And our other driver, Steve Melton, was standing there ready to go, ready to get in the car and kind of doing the times. I'm like, dude, we don't have time for this. John, you got to stay in. You got to go. And
He was cool with that or
yeah,
not really?
Yeah, no, he was whatever it takes.
Let's do it.
You know what I mean? We kept going, and John was 9 miles from something like that from the finish. Got another flat.
Oh, no.
And we were on the highway, and he was probably 800 yards in the distance. But we could see him. We could visually see him, you know what I mean? And I was on this long power line road, and he's changing the tire, and we could get him with the radio. You know what I mean?
Is that close, right?
And then we could see the next truck, it was a trophy truck, coming down the hill and closing in on him.
Oh, no.
And we start yelling on the radio, you got to go, you got to go.
Just put 3 bolts on it.
Yeah.
Or 3 nuts.
He fucking scrambled, and the car's falling off the jack, and he's just having a mess out there. But he got it up and going, left the jack, left the tire, left everything out in the fucking desert. Only got 9 miles. And we won that race.
That's awesome.
And it was just, there was this big, huge freaking, they call it Terribles Cup, big ass trophy with this huge cup on the top of it. And at the end of the race, they'd fill it with whatever you wanted to fill with. And
Money?
we bought, it was in a town called Pahrump, Nevada.
Okay, yep, I'm familiar.
We bought the whole entire town out of Crown.
Yay!
And Coke, and they were opening 6 packs of Coke at one time. You know what I mean? Not even undoing them, just took the whole thing.
Oh no!
And we had the whole entire parking lot just lit, and we had a blast. And that was probably the most memorable. There's 4 of us, a little car, a truck. You know what I mean? And a fucking flatbed trailer.
With all these big boys.
And we killed all these big boys.
Think how think how much of a hurting he was putting them on him to have 2 flats.
Yeah. Well, and that's herder style.
Oh,
you know
man,
what I mean?
that guy.
I feel like you'd be so happy after all that.
That guy can drive, man.
And like I say, that Parker 425 win that Jesse and I did was a brand new truck. He had driven it one other time, just testing it, and we went straight into qualification. And we didn't qualify all that well, but when Jesse gets out in the desert, it's go.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
go
I mean?
time.
And it was one of those days. It was just kind of, I never got out of the truck. We stopped for fuel and tires only.
And that was it.
And it was it. You know, I just sat there the whole day and called out some notes, you know what I mean? And we won. And it was one of those, this is cool. You know what I mean? And, of course, the score championship was a point-to-point race. So we started in Ensenada, and then 1,280 miles later, we finished in La Paz. And I don't care how important it is, you're tired.
Oh, yeah.
We were both just beat. Kind of relieved, but it was more just like, just get me to the hotel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm done with this.
Yeah.
All this dirt and everything else, right?
But, you know, and it's those races you just can't stand. You know what I mean? You're on your way home, you're tired. Fuck, I'm never going to do this shit again. This race sucks.
Right. Sign me up for next year.
Wednesday,
First one to sign up.
Yeah, Wednesday the following week. Okay, so what do we need to do different for next year?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
We apologize, guys, but in the middle of the episode, we had a couple internet service provider issues. Here's the rest of the episode where we jump into a rapid-fire Q&A with Joe.
Yeah,
Constantly, huh?
Yeah, no, the kids and I are just ice cream fiends.
World-class chocolate.
World-class
So
chocolate ice
good.
cream. That's your favorite?
That's the best.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
You need to try it. Oh, you've had it. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I know.
All right. And mine is, I don't do sugar, but if I had to pick anyone, pralines and cream. I like that one. All right, you're up next.
M&M's or Skittles? Dang, that's like a huge difference.
M&M's.
Oh, that's the first person I've ever heard it say
I think I
M&M's.
do the M&M's. Yeah, I don't care for the
You don't taste the rainbow?
The rainbow's good, but actually I think the M&M I prefer the chocolate, but only so much of it.
Yeah, but what happens if it's like a hot summer day? You're screwed with M&M's in your pocket.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
you can't go wrong with the Skittles because they'll
never melt.
They won't.
That's
They'll
true.
roll
Good
around
point.
in your dash forever.
On the floorboard. Yeah.
I'm going Skittles too.
Obviously Skittles, yeah.
All right. Do you have any pets at home?
Yes, I got 3 dogs, 3 little Pomeranians.
They always barking at you?
One's a constant. I mean, you should just stand there and bark at the wall. It's, you know what I mean? There's no rhyme or reason, but
Just barking the whole time?
yeah, but they're great, man. We love them to death.
Joe, what was the name of that giant, awesome cat that you grew up with?
Snow.
Snow. That thing was like a 40-pounder.
Really? I don't think I ever saw that cat.
He
Yeah.
had to be 20-something pounds. This guy was
Growing-
huge.
Growing, my mother always had a cat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we always had cats when we were growing up, and this cat
His paws were like this
was
big.
Dude.
Huge.
Like a mountain lion?
this guy. And
He would
she,
attack you, take your legs out.
my mother always had an indoor-outdoor cat. And this one, she wanted to be indoor deal. You know what I mean? Of course, that didn't go over very well with the old man. But anyhow, she had it declawed in the front. So she took the 4-wheel drive out of it. But I swear to God, to this day, they took his claws and put them on his teeth.
Oh, why?
Because his teeth would hang out the bottom of his,
Really?
of his lip. Yeah, like an old saber-tooth type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a freaking monster.
He
was a
was.
badass. He was cool.
He
He was
Snow.
it was actually, I think, the last cat we had.
Snow, huh?
Yeah, his name was Snow. Big old dude.
Some of the guys were saying that they didn't get any of the audio, so let's go over. We'll just go through them real quick. Die Hard or Nightmare Before Christmas?
Die Hard.
You're going Die Hard
Die
too,
Hard, yeah.
and I picked Nightmare Before Christmas because I like the characters. Tacos or pizza?
Definitely taco. You're
Both.
Southern
Yeah,
Arizona.
You're
you gotta
going
be
both.
taco.
I'm going tacos too.
I agree, but man.
Favorite tacos would be a way different question. Favorite soda? We already discussed. Joe likes Coke, man.
Yep.
He's a Coke drinker.
Dr. Pepper.
I'm going Diet Dr. Pepper. All right. We talked about most memorable race. Favorite ice cream we just talked about. All right. You want to ask the next one?
The pets?
We already
We
asked
just
that
did
one. Cat. Well, do you have pets at home?
I do.
Is it?
2 little yipe-yapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little
they're-
guys?
They're pretty cool.
So, unfortunately, I don't have any pets at home. We had a dog, pit bull. She was awesome. But, yeah, right now I don't have any pets at home. All right. If you were in the movie Hangover, which character would you be?
Oh, man.
And I always tell everybody this, like in the last episode, you can still be Mike Tyson, too, because he's,
I was just gonna say
he's
that.
in there.
I was totally going to say that.
You know, I don't know the characters' names, but I've always been the one to kind of hang back and
Alan?
observe and kind of,
The tooth?
That's
yeah,
his
yeah,
name?
kind of mediate. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I've never been an instigator at all. But I've been kind of one that was just kind of in the background a little bit. So, yeah, probably. I don't
The
remember
guy
his
that
name.
pulls out his own tooth, or the guy
Yeah, yeah.
Alan that with the satchel?
No, the guy that pulls out his own tooth.
Oh, yeah. Who's
Yeah.
that?
I don't know what his name is
I
either,
thought
but
it was
He was a doctor or a lawyer or something like that in the movie.
he was a dentist.
a dentist.
Dentist, there you go.
funny
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
Pulled
yeah.
out his own tooth.
That's right.
He was hilarious, too. Who
That
would you
was pretty
pick?
funny.
Just because I don't have to think, I was going to say Mike Tyson.
Really?
He's got his own tiger.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
He has his own podcast now too.
True.
I need to listen to that
Does
bad
he?
boy. Yeah, it's funny too because he talks like the way he talks. You know, like you'd think like the podcast wouldn't get any traction, but
Yeah, right.
that's bitching though.
Yeah.
like
Awesome.
yeah, way to overcome it, Mike.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna go with Alan just because I don't like people touching my cars. So. I said this last episode too. I just think it's so funny. He's sitting by the gas pump and he's putting gas in it, and the guy's like walking. Oh, look at the car! Like looking at the car. He's like, "Don't even look at it. Just walk away. Just walk away." This is my favorite part.
Yeah.
All right, go for the last one, dude. This is the golden ticket.
Second one, right? Form of racing.
Oh yeah, my bad.
What other form of racing would you to try? So is this racing or supporting?
Well, okay, I'll answer the question first then. So, if I could pick any type of racing, it would just be F1. Like I love F1.
Yeah, so
if
cool.
I could do, and it's not to race it. Like I would just love to go out there and try it. Like
Right.
just because it feels like unobtainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And like my second one, I probably want to drive one of those big ass trucks in Dakar, like those Kamaz trucks. But I wouldn't want to race Dakar. I just want to go drive it for
Just
a
go
little
drive
bit.
it?
Yeah, and have some fun. So, what would you guys pick?
I would like to dabble into the F1 stuff a little bit.
Well, you're super
Cool.
into the technology and stuff, right?
That's what I was going to bring up. If I got a little bit of time, I was going to bring up a story that
Yeah, do it, man.
a couple years ago for the SEMA show in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
We all had our trophy trucks there because we were actually qualifying for the 1,000
Oh, I remember that year.
at SEMA. Anyhow, being good friends and racing with Menzies Motorsports, Bryce Menzies, and that team, I spent a lot of time over at their shop, and and we helped them. We've raced with them a lot, so I would help them with their pit stuff, and they'd help me with my, you know what I mean, and all of our stuff together. And a group of Frenchmen, Red Bull Frenchmen, came over with an F1 car, and for the SEMA show.
Yep.
And brought it over in boxes.
Yeah, that's the way they do it, though.
Exactly. And it kind of blew my mind. Like, wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Anyhow, and these
Smart,
guys,
though, I guess.
It's like how they travel with musicians. They put them all in those big old crate like boxes.
Each
yeah,
piece
exactly.
just bolts together.
And this was a car. I think it was like 3 years old, maybe 4 years old. But anyhow, they assembled the whole car, and they, even though the car was old and outdated and it is no longer in use, they're like, hey, no pictures, no nothing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But the
So much technology.
technology was crazy.
It's so
And,
cool. Everything's carbon fiber too, right?
Oh man! And then they started it,
Oh man.
and dude, it just made. I feel that we worked on some pretty advanced stuff, in this trophy truck field.
Not
And
even
dude,
close.
Dude, now you can even bet on it. It was crazy, just watching these guys work, and this car is running, and they're controlling it via laptop. They're not even in the car. They're not even touching the gas pedal.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? And it's just crazy. And the materials that are used, I mean, they're using a material called Inconel. It's the
What
full,
is that?
The full exhaust. It's a metal type based material, but it's the exhaust is glowing. I mean, it's glowing red hot. And you would think with it, growing and contracting and growing, it'd break. But this Inconel material cools back down and comes back down to its, you know what I mean?
So it
its
can dissipate heat in like 2 seconds?
Yeah, it dissipates heat quickly, returns to its
Do they use
form
that same stuff?
time and time again. And
Do they use that same type of stuff with brakes?
I don't know about brakes. I know they use it a lot in the aircraft industry.
Dude, that'd be insane.
But it's just, I mean, it just blew me away watching these guys work and put
Well,
the
like
car
Kay
together.
said, then would you rather be part of the behind the scenes, or would you rather just like get in and press the gas?
I'd rather be behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know
you
what
would?
I mean? I
You
would.
would?
I would
Okay.
rather be behind the scenes because there's so much more learning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Keep
it
your
just,
brain busy.
that stuff it's cool. It was really cool to see. It was an honor to watch it and see them. A whole bunch of freaking Lego boxes.
Dude, I
Think
feel
about
like
they put this whole race car together, and
I feel like I'd want both. I want to look at it all and then go drive it
Yeah,
too.
no kidding.
I think driving it would be fun, but
Yeah, I
The
guess
buil-
not
the
near as like
building and the-
fulfilling, huh?
Yeah.
the understanding of
What
it,
about you?
but-
What would you like to try?
Man, so I don't remember the name of this thing, but I just heard about this. There's this race that races from point A to point B. There's off-road, there's on-road. It's all together, and you're only allowed to spend $500.
You're talking about the Cannonball Run.
It's I guess it's kind of like it, but
Gambler.
maybe that's it. And there's just so much strategy into that.
Yeah.
Like, let's see, we could do a Volkswagen.
You'd have to get a
because-
hoopty.
Well,
You got $500. You got a $500.
What if your friend will sell you a F1 car for $500?
Right. I'm sure there's some kind of restriction, but right, like, because now you're thinking about, let's see, okay, a Volkswagen's air cooled,
Yeah.
but it's probably not gonna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, think of all the.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's-
That sounds pretty awesome to me. That's not luxurious and
No, not at all.
not at all. But
What about a Power Wheels with like a V8? You could get some serious speed out of that thing.
totally.
And I do have to say, I spent over in Australia this year. I went to a V8 supercar race,
Oh, those look
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
and they're serious about their technology.
That's Tiger's
Those-
old caddy.
Yeah, those cars are bad. Those cars are the technology in them and the competition. You know what I mean? They're
So they have Ford,
Good
Skoda,
trick.
like those kinds of cars.
like Ford and Holdens and,
Holden,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
that's
yeah.
the one I was thinking of.
So and it's just like I say, the technology's crazy and there's 10 engineers to a car and it's pretty cool. You know, it's not just left turn; it's left and right, and the braking systems on them are it's cool, really neat. I really enjoyed it.
I would like to. Well, it kind of goes along with that same thing, like turning left and right and stuff. That's why I like F1. But those DTM cars look bitchin' too. Have you guys seen those, like the Mercedes AMG cars and things like that?
Yep.
I feel like those would be super close to, well, maybe not F1 status, but those would be badass to drive.
So
I would
you're
love
going
to do
F1?
that. I think just because, like, now that Joe brings up all those points about the technology and stuff, that's what really interests me. So, I mean, like, driving it would be like putting me over the edge kind of thing.
Right.
But I think that's, just being at the top level of motorsports in general. Yeah, like, you know, like, it'd be like flying the baddest helicopter ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're a pilot, like, there's nothing that gets better. Like, and even if all I got to do was rev the engine, I would be so stoked. And then look at all the stuff,
All the graphs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think something like that would be cool.
What's exciting to me is understanding those graphs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even
And
to
what
this,
to do about.
Yeah, you know, even at this day on our race programs, you know, they're all computer controlled. You know what I mean? Electronics and all that, and the motor man will come over and he'll download the data from it. You know what I mean? And look at it, and at first sight you see all these graphs and all these lines, and after you start making sense of what each one is, it's pretty cool to be able to understand that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Does he like teach you? Can he download all the information into your brain so you can figure it all out too?
oh yeah, no, he's done. We've done quite a bit of work together on it, and
That's super cool.
And that's just learning's fun. You know what I mean? There's no cap to learning.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as I'm concerned, you know what I mean?
100% agree.
All right, the most important question, Case. Go ahead and ask him.
Chips and guac, fries and ketchup.
Fries and ketchup. I
No
don't
way.
do the guac, man. I can't do it. I've tried and I can't do it.
The guac guy.
I think you're going to be the only person ever to say that answer.
And it's funny too because I'm my wife is Mexican and she's guac in every other meal, and I can't do it. I don't like it.
No.
No.
What about avocados, like on a sandwich?
No, not at all.
No, yeah, just not avocado guy.
Get that green stuff away from me. And you?
Well, I'm going
We
chips and
already
guac.
know.
Yeah.
Have you
too?
ever had fries and guac?
Actually, yeah, I have. Carne asada fries with guac and stuff all over them. So he would just get it with no guac on
Yeah,
it.
he would. But given these choices, I gotta go chips and guac.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going chips and guac too.
Yeah.
That's funny because every other person that's answered is like, dude, it's not even a question.
Yeah, right.
Everybody picked chips and guac. So awesome, man. Well, you're going against the grain, but you do that a lot in your life, man.
Yeah.
So you go against the grain. You work hard. You kick ass. You've been doing a great job, especially in the last couple of years, just starting that new, all-wheel drive trophy truck program for Jesse Jones. You've clearly made a name for yourself in the industry. You've opened up a lot of people's eyes, even in Australia, to be able to go and work with some of those guys. Like Casey said during the middle of the show, and I don't know if people caught it when you guys were talking, but it's really cool to see somebody make such an impact in a genre of motorsports. Well, first of all, that grew up with us, but from a small town.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool. Like most of the guys that you talk to don't have that same story. And I love hearing stories like that, man. It's bitching.
Like I say, I just gotta pretty much owe it all to my old man and my brother. I mean, I remember welding with a acetylene torch when I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? We were making our own little custom trucks and stuff, my brother and I, and just, and the cousins were involved in their stuff too. And it's just, I'd just be, if I can get my kids to do the same thing, it's just cool. It's over the moon, man. It's really, really fun.
These guys that want you and are, seeking you out, they get it. They know this.
Yeah.
When the chips are down, it's crunch time and somebody has to make a decision. Think of the depth that you get to draw from dad teaching you this and that. This isn't like, hey, son, you're going to be a trophy truck mechanic. No, this is like, I can make whatever out of a beer can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
no,
and that's why I was saying that I idolize Joe and give so much appreciation to him, because in most cases, the dirt life gave him this. Mm-hmm. His life gave him this. He's obviously got people that he's thankful for helping him, but he wasn't growing up in a lawyer with
Right.
father environment, and he had to be a lawyer. He had to go to school. He took
Right.
all the traditional ways. He stayed out of trouble. You know, he wasn't looking to be the president of the United States. He wasn't looking to be a doctor. Like, it's that whole, I don't want to say school of hard knocks, because it's not like he grew up in, you know, South Central LA or something. But it really is. Like, you're in an element where you're always getting the fire lit underneath you to make sure that you're getting out and you're doing things properly. And it shows how much hard work, structure, and the work ethic gets you in life. It really does. And to be at the level that he's at now, where people from different countries are asking them to help, or him to help them in their programs, that's pretty admirable, dude.
Yeah, no, it's I think a lot of it's coming. We didn't have a whole lot growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had to make work what we had. You know what I mean? And if we didn't have it, well, we got to figure out
How to make it.
what else to, you know what I mean? I remember going to,
Yesenia says she's a proud wife. Thanks for chiming in, girl.
years ago, we went to the dump, you know, Sunday morning dump run or deal, whatever. And anyhow, my brother spotted an old RM80.
No way. In the dump?
Thrown
in the
away?
dump. Yeah. And it was, I mean, it was still air cooled. You know what I mean? This is way back when.
That's
And
still a
anyhow,
pretty good
dude,
find.
Yeah, it is.
And,
Haven't you seen those dudes that travel over the country looking for stuff like that?
we loaded it up.
How'd you sneak it out?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how we snuck it out, but this, you know, this way back when.
He put some trash on top of it.
Took more trash out than we brought in. But it didn't run. You know what I mean? But anyhow, my brother Rusty and my dad and ended up making it run, and he rode that thing for a year, 2 years.
Dang,
You know what I
sweet.
mean? And
That's
just,
awesome.
I think it was a stator or something that was bad, and you know, they ended up, there's a couple motorcycle junkyards around town, and because we never bought anything new. You know, I mean, never bought anything.
Yeah.
The first thing I ever bought new was my motorcycle, that 96 Cowie that.
The Ghost Rider?
The Ghost Rider, yeah.
That brings up a good point, though, is that somebody threw it away because they didn't want to put the effort that Joe puts in every day.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Can
Yeah.
you imagine being like in that day and age, like, whatever, throw it away.
Yeah, no, and that's.
Well,
you know,
we didn't even think like that now.
No way.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's pull this thing apart and figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
Or put
uh,
another engine in.
So it's I think it's just growing up that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I say, just, you know, I was 13 and my old man said, here you go. You know, I got this car. Because originally when I was growing up, I wanted my grandmother's Mustang. She had a 66 Mustang, and I always wanted that. And, of course, I was motorcycle riding a lot.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to haul a fucking motorcycle around in the back of a Mustang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then my
Gonna
dad
work.
stumbled across one of his old high school buddies that had this Ranchero.
Perfect.
That was pretty much half Mustang, you know, Falcon, and the other pickup bed, and so there you go. It's 13 years old, and
I bet you were stoked.
I was pumped and scared at the same time
Yeah.
because and I had an idea, but dude, that was
Did you have an
3
idea
years
of like
just hard learning.
Did you have an idea of what color, and you were looking at magazines like, what am I going to do? Like, how do I get it to be cool?
You know, no, not really. The colors and stuff like that, you know, at the time didn't really bother me. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just wanted to get it running, and
You just
We
want to get
had-
your dirt bike to the track.
yeah, and we had a friend that was a painter and had a whole bunch of this yellow over here because he used to paint for a construction company.
Yep.
And had a whole bunch of this yellow left over, and somehow we got into it, and I got into wanting like a really nice looking car. You know what I mean? And that kind of developed into my brother had built a Falcon that was on methanol. I mean, it was a badass little pro street car.
Yeah, it was.
And my dad had a hot
Yes.
rod, and we just we got into this era for probably 4 or 5 years of making really nice street rod stuff. And my dad still tinkers in that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's actually sold a couple of them and made a heck of a lot more money than he ever thought he would
I bet.
because they were that clean and they were
Yeah,
that
super
nice.
nice.
Yep.
And us spending the time and building the stuff, we don't really know how much it's worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And street value, because we don't know street value. We don't sell nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's been fun though.
Yeah.
Been
That's super
a lot
cool,
of good
man.
life experiences, and then this off-road deal just kind of fell in my lap, and I just kind of I love it.
I don't know,
If
man. I don't know
I-
if I agree with that whole film lab kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well,
Because you got to be able to.
You put yourself in the right place.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you also showed what work ethic and structure and all that means.
And the I think the passion and the love for it does 90% of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this is not no 8 to 5 job.
That's a good
You know
point
what
too.
I mean? And I just love doing it. And if you love doing it, you're gonna do a great job.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So if it's just a regular old job, it's just a job. But this ain't a job. This is a way of life.
Yeah. That's cool.
You
That's
know?
a really good the dirt way of the dirt life.
You got it. The way of their life.
That's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming to the studio today and having pizza with us.
Hey, thank
and
you.
hanging out and
Sharing a couple Cokes.
By the way, we had pizza, not tacos.
Yes.
Hey, let's keep that a secret, dude. No, but we did feel like it needed a change, though.
Yeah, okay.
And it was pretty good pizza.
It
so
It was.
I might even have a couple pieces after this, too. But thank you very much for coming, dude. I really
Thanks for having
appreciate it. Good luck to you and all the new ventures that you got coming up. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm going to definitely follow you on social media.
Yes, please do.
For people that don't know your social media, it's Weining 814.
Yep.
So WEINING
And
814 on Instagram, and Joe Weining on the Facebook. And do you have any other?
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So go hit him up, man. Check out the stuff that he's doing. He's doing a great job, and obviously hanging out with some pretty cool people too. I can't wait till I see a next picture of you. Maybe picking up a kangaroo and holding it or something. That'll be pretty cool. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're sorry about all the trouble that we had. But we got 2 episodes out of it, we'll say, part 1 and part 2. So we'll fix it. Maybe I'll try to do some post-production. We'll fix it. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Hopefully next show we'll have a little bit more interaction. Next show, Case is going to join me again. We have a really, really special guest. Kind of goes along with the whole Red Bull thing that we were talking about with Toby Price and Bryce Menzies and stuff. We got Ryan Sipes.
I cannot wait.
Going to come in and join
The
us.
general.
Or not come in, but come in on the TV and join us from way back. Where's he from? Kentucky?
Kentucky.
Yeah. So they call him General Sipes now, right? Yeah, like you said. So
The general.
the General. That's because he can just ride dirt bikes, flat track, hill climb.
It's pretty insane what he's doing for
So
sure.
we're going to talk to him about some really fun stuff. I can't wait to interview Ryan, and it'll be cool to talk to him about some motocross and supercross stuff too. We want to thank all of our sponsors. Thank you very much, Shock Therapy. Don't forget to use the code DIRTLIFE if you want to go save some money, maybe get some last-minute gifts or some New Year's gifts. And Zollinger Racing Products. Those guys make bitchin' products. I've said it a million times. Go use that same code, DIRTLIFE, and go get yourself some rad stuff for the rest of the dune season, or get your car all pumped up for the summertime. Thank you to Rigid Industries, baddest lights in the business. Thank you to Solderweld. They have their off-road repair kit. You can rescue your race, rescue your ride, get your car fixed up. In fact, Joe, we should get you hooked up with one of those. I'll give you a Solderweld repair kit before you leave today.
No, that'd be neat.
Check it out. And thank you very much to Fuel Wheels. Those guys are awesome. Make great products. We really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Episode 19. I'm going to say it's awesome for episode 19. Got a special heart for that number, or a special piece of my heart for that number. We love you guys. Good night.
Thanks.
Merry Christmas. Be safe.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Be safe. Good night.
Thanks for listening to The Dirt Life Show.